I think a lot of us are stuck, but not so much physically as we are stuck in our mentality. Stuck in the idea that, who we are is some sort of solid thing rather than thinking it's a fluid thing. And I realize that it's a comfort thing. I feel like a lot of us get comfortable with a certain way that we are, a certain way that we perceive ourselves to be, and we stick with it. Because I feel like when we're inside that definition of ourselves, we're able to find comfort in just knowing and thinking we know. When, in my opinion, you never really know yourself because there's so much left to do. There's so many things out in this world that will show you new parts of yourself. And that's why I feel like we need to broaden our perspective. You're not necessarily stuck. You're just somewhat too comfortable because there's so much more to you than just a single instantiation of who you are. And I'm realizing this mostly because me and my friends started talking about doing more creative projects, doing more things to express ourselves, not necessarily just our standard ways, because we all have ways we express ourselves. Like me, it's writing. I write all the time. I do these videos, and I'm realizing that there's a lot more to it, and all of us, there's a vast infinite. There's a lot of potential that we all have that we don't necessarily use, and I feel like part of that reason that we don't use it is because of reactions. And I want to say this pretty early on in the video, make sure I get it. But I feel like a lot of us are stuck in an external reaction. We're stuck in how people perceive us and how, we perceive ourselves through other people. And in saying that, I mean that we need to stop. You need to stop doing it. Because if you're doing stuff for the external reaction, when you're cultivating your art, when you're doing stuff for your own expression, it should be solely for the expression's sake. For the art of becoming that thing, not necessarily for a reaction to it. And I feel like a lot of us get discouraged in our passions just because, we think it's supposed to be something transactional when it's not. It's supposed to be something reciprocal. You give to the art gives to you by showing you more and more parts of yourself, by showing you, the parts of yourself that are currently hidden in some ways. And I feel like a lot of the parts of us that are hidden are our traumas, our incidents, our negativity. And I feel like it's the stuff we just blatantly leave behind without regarding. And I'm realizing that the more we put behind us, the more we carry on our back. And it's important to face the things that are trying to change. It's important to face the parts of you that are seeking out change, because if you don't, those parts will never change. Those parts will always be there, and those parts will always be nagging at you, pulling at your strings. The more I grow, the more I open my eyes, the more I'm trying to be present, the more I realize more parts of myself that are seeking out change, more parts of myself that are looking for avenues and ways to be better. I feel like it's so important to be present enough with yourself to realize these things. And I feel like each part of that comes with broadening your perspective. Realizing that, those parts of yourself that are seeking out change aren't just nagging. It's just showing you ways in which you can improve, ways in which you can grow. And I feel like a lot of us become so stagnant in this idea that we're a certain way. And then when negativity and stuff like that comes around and comes about, we try to ignore it because we feel like it's just our mind somewhat being negative, which sometimes it is. The mind can be a very negative place. But in all things that are subject to our control and change, maybe we just feel like, oh, I can't do that right now, or it's too early, or it's too soon. It's probably not. I feel like the whole concept of time kind of messes up our whole progression in a sense, because we feel like there's a past self and a current self when it's not. It's all just you. It's always has just been you. And you need to get rid of that sort of dichotomy in your head, because in the same way that you need to bring your future to yourself, bring your future now, in the sense that you need to hold on to your desire of what you want and embody how you would feel when it comes now. You need to bring the past into yourself too. Bring all those lessons, bring all that necessary trauma, bring those things that you need to change. Because I feel like once you address those little bits and pieces of problems that you had since you were maybe a kid, it allows you to be that kid again. Not in the sense that you get less smart or less equipped for the world, but in the sense that you start seeing more of the childlike things. In a sense, like, remember how happy you were as a kid, just doing the most simplest, mundane of things. You can come back to that because it's still you. It's still in you. And I feel like a lot of people feel like they leave themselves behind in this sense because they've grown, because they see a little bit of change, because their environment changed and stuff like that. But as inconsistent as the world is, you have to be there consistent for yourself. If you're not going to be consistent, nothing else in this world is going to be consistent for you. And I feel like that's where a lot of people don't find stability, because they're not sowing their foundation and platform in themselves. Regardless of how we change, there are still bits and pieces and parts of ourselves that remain consistent. And it's about focusing on those things and making sure they're strong. Making sure that you can hold on to those and lean on them whenever circumstances get awry. Because circumstances will. It's about realizing that regardless of the nature of the world, regardless of the nature of the surrounding environment, it's about the nature of yourself. And I know I can say that in a very general sense, because of course there are things that are beyond morality in that scope, things going on now. And when speaking about things that are in our control, things that are inherent to us, things that we can relate to, it's important to be intentional. And I say this in every video, but it's important to have intention with not necessarily just how you feel about something, but how it makes you feel. Like doing things for the outcome is not necessarily something that we should do. I get the monetary stuff, you work for it, blah blah blah, but when it comes to our expression, when it comes to our art, it shouldn't be for that. And I feel like that's where a true artist comes in. That's when it truly becomes something. That's when we truly become. That's when we become ourselves. And I always push art because that's the way I see it. But when I say art, I don't necessarily just mean drawing or painting or music. I feel like everybody expresses themselves artistically in ways that they might not see. It may be just in the way they act. It might be in a group they're in. It might be in their writing, their way of speech. I feel like a lot of stuff translates to your expression, and regardless of which, it should be focused on and compounded upon, because you're the only person that can be with you 100% of the time. You're the only person who can see those parts of yourself, and you have to be the person to be able to see those parts and still appreciate them. Because once you get to that point of self-love and finding parts of yourself, because the whole reason I stress pushing art is because it's an easy way to find parts of yourself, to find out who you are, in a sense. Doing things to allow yourself to see more of you. Not just doing things to do them, but being present enough within them to see how they make you feel and see what parts of yourself are being stimulated by it. And that's so important, because the closer you get to yourself, the closer you get to peace. The closer you get to, your ideal self, your higher self, the easier life will be. And I'm realizing, with my perspective, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at not being so reactive. Not in the sense like I'm not controlling my reaction, in the sense I'm heavily controlling them. You have to take time to process the world sometimes. And when you're having conversations with people, when you're interacting with other people, you have to be mindful about what's driving them and what's driving you. And you only can control what's driving you in everything. So if you're the only one that control you, you have to be the one to control you. I feel like a lot of us allow other things to control us, however. Like, in a societal sense, just how other people feel. In a societal sense, in a regular sense, how other people judge us and how we allow that judgment to be us. Because it's not necessarily them judging us, it's us accepting their judgment and judging ourselves. No one can connotate you but you. You're the one who allows that. And it's about agreements. I always bring this up. Agreements. The 4 Agreements really put me on. You guys should definitely read that book. But, it's about what we allow ourselves to agree to. It's about what we allow ourselves to accept about ourselves, Some people look at the 1% of you that they can see, and they connotate it. And you look at yourself with the 99% you have inside and say, maybe they're right. That 1% is the 100%. And it's not. People don't necessarily see 100% of who we are, because we don't know 100% of who we are. And I don't think you should. You should always be a sculptor and sculpture at the same time, aiming to create something beautiful but never finish. You want to be beautiful during the process. Once you finish the process, that's when it's connotation. That's when you're done. That's when it's wraps. Because he who thinks the journey is over is the one that's truly lost. And we're not stuck. And that's why I feel like people have to get moving. You can't move forward if you don't leave anything behind. All these quotes really mean the same thing. And it means be present and keep going. Be present, be positive with yourself, and keep going. I feel like that's all it is. And once you broaden your perspective of yourself, it's like not necessarily a battle of what you can do, but what you want to do. What you're gonna funnel that attention into, even though you have a large capability and a lot of stuff that you can do, but what do you want? It's when it allows you to choose it. That's when it becomes something. I feel like that's truly beautiful, inherent to the human experience. It's about just being here right now and present. And this is my second time recording this because my computer crashed yesterday and I had to reset it. So I had to re-download my stuff. And then I was using 2 mics at the same time, and then I ruined the video. But I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. We got a lot on the way. Podcast channel, I'm probably gonna make it tomorrow, realistically speaking, and probably get my first couple of podcasts up there. And then I'm also doing more streaming, and after I upload this video, I'm gonna post a Discord link with it to get you guys in there, because I'm definitely going to be more active over the summer. And all in all, thank you. Keep being intentional. Keep being there with yourself, because you're the only person that can be there with you 100% of the time. Keep being you. Keep being great. Keep being beautiful. And one more thing.